Live.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And welcome to the remote meeting of Stanley Town Council. This meeting's taken place on Tuesday, the 23rd of March, 2021 at 6:30 and is streamed live to YouTube. I'm Councillor Carol Hampson, Mayor of Stanley, and I will be chairing the meeting this evening. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest speakers, members, officers, members of the public and the media who are watching this live stream. Before I commence with the formal business on the agenda, I would like to cover the housekeeping issues for us all to follow. For those taking part in the meeting, could you please only speak when invited to speak by myself as chair. Keep your microphone on mute at all times, unless invited to speak. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. Once invited to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and position, unless you have already introduced yourself earlier in the meeting. If you are having issues with connectivity, try switching off your video and just use the audio function. If connectivity issues continue, you may have to leave the meeting and rejoin to get a better signal. If a vote is needed, a roll call of all councillors' names will take place. After your name is called, please unmute your microphone and state if you are for, against, or abstain. Then mute your microphone again. Please follow these simple rules, as it will help us in the running of the meeting as efficiently as possible. I will be pausing briefly when questions and comments are being invited to allow members to register their intention to speak. Please be patient should we encounter any issues. Thank you. Now moving on to the formal business on the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can confirm my apologies from Councillor George Wilkinson and Councillor Helen Clark.
Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Mark Davison has your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I've got a declaration of interest on the Part B agenda item. I'm on the appeals committee for the staffing, so I won't be taking any part in that, and I'll be leaving the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see Councillor Carl Marshall, your hand's up.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Carl Marshall, Stanley Hall Ward. I just want to declare a pecuniary interest in item 11 around the events management. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't see who that is. Councillor Joe McMahon.
Oh, there you go.
Joe McMahon.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just to declare an interest in item 11 as well, pecuniary for the events management contract.
Thank you. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
Hi, just the same as Mark, Chair. Jeanette Stevenson, Anfield Plain and Catchgate Division, but I too am on that panel, the appeals panel, so I won't be taking any part in Part B.
Thank you. Councillor David Tully.
Yes, like the same as Mark and Jeanette, I will be not participating in that Part B, as I'm also a member of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Right, we'll move on to item 3, which is the Mayor's announcements. Since our last Town Council meeting, I've not attended any events or ceremonies. I have, however, continued to help support residents, businesses and community groups in the area with numerous queries and concerns that they've had. I would like to pass on my continued thanks to all the organisations and individuals who, after 1 year on this pandemic, and still there helping and supporting our communities to survive. You are all amazing. My deepest condolences to those who have lost family and friends, and to anyone in hospital. I wish you a speedy recovery and hope you are home soon. Although restrictions are starting to be eased and the vaccine has been rolled out, and it's still not over, we must still be aware the virus is still out there and think about the safety of others and ourselves, and we will get there in the end. Thank you to each and every one of you. James, do you have anything you want to say?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just to make members and members of the public aware that on the 25th of this, we will enter the pre-election period, otherwise known as PERDA. Members, you'll be aware of the rules and regulations with regards to PERDA, but it's just for the purposes of members of public that they may notice a slight difference in the number of bits of information that we send out, the posts that may go out on our Facebook, the press releases that may go to the press as well. So it's just to make them aware that there may be a change and that it's just part of the pre-election agenda. On the back of that, Chair, if we could request, or if I could request that we move item 20, which is the date and time of the next meeting, to before the exclusion of the public, i.e. the Part B subject, and then following that, I just need to do the hearsay and documents check, please.
Thank you. Do you want to go ahead with the document check?
I'm happy to. Chair, are you happy to move that agenda item as well?
Yes, I'm happy to move it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So for the hearsay and document check members, if I can have a yes that you can hearsay and you have the documents to hand. So Councillor Christine Bell.
Yes.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
Yes.
Councillor Joyce Clark. Don't think Joyce is with us. That's fine. Councillor Alex Clegg.
Yes.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
Yes, I do. Thanks.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
Yes.
James Kane.
Yep, got all documents, thank you.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
Yes, I've got all the documents, thanks.
Councillor David Marshall.
Yes.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
Yeah, I've got everything.
Councillor Ballinair.
Yes.
Councillor John Nicholson.
Yes, I have everything.
Councillor Jack Palace. And Jack isn't with us. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
Yes, I have everything, thank you.
Councillor Les Timby.
Yeah, I've got everything. Thanks very much.
Councillor David Tully.
Yes, I've got everything, thank you.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
Yes, I've got everything, thanks.
Fantastic, Chair. That is everybody all here and correct.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 4, which is the leader statement. Councillor Timby.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Councillor Les Timby, Silkmore, Leader of Stanley Town Council. A year today, we went into lockdown. We all should remember all those people who have lost their lives to COVID and the families who have been affected through this. We clapped every week for the NHS staff and the care workers who carried on working throughout the pandemic. This Tory government stated they appreciated the work the NHS staff have done, yet they have decided to propose a 1% pay rise for all NHS and care staff. This is a disgrace. In real money terms, it is a pay cut. I would like Stanley Town Council to support the NHS staff and demand this Tory government give the NHS and care staff a decent and proper pay rise. I also thank Stanley Town Council staff for their determination and resilience, often going over and above what is being asked of them. I would like to thank everyone for their hard work and provided vital support for our communities and ensured information and advice was readily available to all. Stay safe and take the job when offered. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Timby. We will move on to item 5, which is public participation. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to confirm that we've had no questions from members of the public.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 6, confirmation of the minutes, which is attachment A. Do we have hold on, Jeanette's got a hand up. Councillor Stevenson?
Would like to propose that we accept the minutes, Chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Everybody agree?
Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thank you. We move on to item 7, which is the committee minutes, confirmation of the minutes. Item which is attachment B. We're asked to receive those minutes. Councillor Mark Davidson.
Thanks, Chair. Just suggest that we receive the minutes for the Financial General Purposes Committee, please.
Thank you. Councillor James Kane.
Hello there, thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's Councillor James Kane, Stanley Hall Ward. I would just like to second Councillor Davidson's proposal that we receive the minutes, please.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to item 8, which is the neighbourhood wardens. Hand over to you, James. Do you want to introduce Belinda, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So if Belinda is ready, so we have for our first guest this evening who's going to be talking about the neighbourhood warden service, Belinda Snow from Durham County Council, who is the neighbourhood warden manager.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the invitation for this evening's meeting. I just wanted to briefly go over some of the things that the wardens or the service level agreement have done over the last few months. I know that Dave Jarvis is doing blooming good fun at the moment, and some virtual spring judging I think he's got planned. I think Dave's still delivering parcels, whereas John is working alongside some of the county council neighbourhood wardens. At the moment, he's got quite a few jobs on. There's fly tipping. There's some proactive jobs that he's got round, that he's been going around the villages and having a look at. Untidy yards and gardens, one of them. He has done some litter picking with one individual, safe distance of course. Some tree planting today. A couple of jobs for antisocial behaviour again with the support from the Durham County Council wardens. Dog fouling issues as well he's dealing with. He's also been helping out with Find It and Fix It. And obviously they have 4 other wardens that are in your area as well that assist the two Stanley Town Councils to do their role. From a partnership approach, I think things are going well, if I may say so. I think that we've got the right people for the right job, and I think, you know, we've had many compliments from some of the councils, which is obviously nicely received. And I think partnership working is going really, really well. Thank you to that.
Thank you very much for that, Belinda. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Belinda, for that. I just wanted to make a couple of comments about the work of the neighbourhood wardens in my patch, basically, and just how brilliant they've actually been with regards to being so responsive. And, you know, as you say, John's been doing a lot of the sort of the hands-on sort of antisocial behaviour, that sort of side of things. And I met him yesterday to look at a problem that we're having with a young lady who's part of a project. She's been homeless, etc., and causing all sorts of problems. And he's been absolutely fantastic in supporting that whole process. And also he met me this morning up at Halo to deal with the fly tipping and a dirty yards complaint that I'd received just a matter of a couple of days ago. We arranged immediately to meet up there and do a site visit, socially distanced, obviously. And he's just been so responsive, and I have to say, Kat's the same. You know, looking at it from a county council perspective as well, the way that everyone's working together is just a pleasure to see. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else got any questions, comments? Councillor Davidson.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the update, Belinda. I just wanted to. It's something I said. I can't remember if it was last month or the month before. Really, that I think the way that it's working is getting things to move on a lot faster. We've got, dare I say, the tactile side with Dave, and John can help Dave to do his work, and then we've got the other side where John's probably more adept at finding the problems and solving them. But if he needs extra boots on the ground, then he can get Dave and they can work as a team there as well. I think it's working really well at the moment. And I'll give me an example that I gave the last time. Sorry to bore everybody who was here the last time, but I reported the back lane between my street and the next street that had quite a bit of stuff in it. It's more ill than just like fly tipping, because we each own an 18th of the street or whatever. And I reported in here there's all sorts of stuff. I got a ring back saying that I knew about it because John, the neighbourhood warden, had already reported it the week beforehand, and they were trying to find a way to come and collect all the stuff, which in the end they did. I don't know, 24 or 48 hours that did their bit, and the county council did their bit, so it worked really well. So I think everybody's working in partnership, and I think that they can only get better in the next 3-year thing that we've got sorted out. So my only question to Belinda is, have you sorted out the contract for the next 3 years yet? Because it runs out in, is it a week? So I think that was your job, wasn't it, Belinda? So if you could come back in and let us know where that is, and if it has to go to legal or something, we might want to get it removed faster. Thanks.
Hopefully it should be over to James tomorrow, James Black tomorrow.
Councillor Timby, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Belinda, for the update. I think you're correct. I think the partnership working definitely is working, and it's the lads, the staff are absolutely brilliant. And you know, like the major things that we've done with DCC regarding the fly tipping operations in both Oxhill and Quakin houses, it's had a good effect, you know, and we need to keep on top of it. We don't rest on our laurels, which I'm sure you appreciate that. And during the rat problem, I'll say it, down at South Moor, both myself, Councillor Davison and Councillor Hampson had meetings with your senior management, and they quickly responded with you, and it was a joined up approach. And problems like that need to be resolved quickly, as you're fully aware. But I think you've slightly undersold yourself, because I would have mentioned that the DCC neighbourhood wardens have now got a Facebook page, which probably not many people are aware of, and it's an interesting Facebook page, and if members want to look on it, you'll find a lot about various projects that the neighbourhood wardens are doing. So thanks very much, Belinda.
Thanks, Les.
Anyone else want to come in? I can't see any more hands up. Well, thank you very much for that, Belinda. It's good to see everybody working together and getting the place tidied up, nice and clean.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just want to thank everybody that it's pleasing that we've got another 3-year contract, and I'm looking forward to supporting that for the next 3 years.
Very good. Thank you. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or if you want to slip off, you can.
Thank you. I'll disappear and go and get dinner.
Thanks once again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll move on to item 9 now, which is the shade report.
Thank you.
I think you're breaking up, James.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So next we have Kevin Howe, who is the Chief Exec for Shade.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm the CEO of Shade. I've been there now 20 years. It's only been going 21 years. So I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of what Shade's about, what we do, and where we want to go in the future. I still walk down the street and around the area, and I still come across people who say they've never heard of us. And I say to them, well, that's a good thing. If you've never heard of us, you don't need us. And that's the aspiration we've got as a homeless charity, is get to the point where no one will ever need us in the future. But the statistics, what was just given off the news yesterday, saying that 60% of all people that lost their jobs during the COVID were under 25, tells me that we're going to be inundated with homelessness to come. So I'm going to share a presentation with you and go through it quickly but precisely. Let's see if I can get this share screen. Can you see that all right?
Yes. Everybody see it?
Yeah.
Well, Shade, you'll have seen that logo branded around, and we've got Facebook pages, and we send leaflets around quite a lot. But who are we? Who are Shade? Just 1 second. Technology. Who are Shade? What are we and what do we do? Well, we're a red-chested charity. We're based in Stanley, but we've operated across Durham for 21 years. But now we've been operating across the whole of the country, and we've got an international flavour as well with some of the work we do with the armed forces. We have 22 employees across 4 sites, but one of the things that we are very good on is employing local residents. So they are hands-on all the time. They can be there at the drop of a hat, and they usually are. Each year we support around 500 individuals. These are not all the referrals that come through. These are 500 individuals where a case management system is set up, and each person might get anything from 10 hours support, and it can range up to 100 hours support, even more, depending on the needs of that individual. We're a level 4 information advice centre, and something I'm very proud of is we've got a 99% excellent feedback rating from the engaging participants. So that's out of them 500, about 80% fill the forms in, and out of them 80%, we get a 99% feedback rating. Over the years, we've had various awards for the work we're doing, but I think the biggest one for us was just last year, we were awarded the gold medal for the services that we do to the armed forces, ex-veterans and homeless. And I believe we're the only charity in the whole of the north of England that gained the gold award and the gold medal of the MOD. So we're extremely proud of that. So priority groups, because the ones that we work with are high risk of homelessness or harm, and some of the information later on I'll tell you about that. So we work with homeless of all ages. We try to prioritise with young people 16 to 25. The reason for that is because there's nowhere for them to turn to. Since the changes in housing benefit and benefit system overall, it makes life a lot more difficult for young people in that age range to get the support that they need. This is quite new for us because of the pandemic, women fleeing domestic violence. So we've been concentrating a lot of our efforts in supporting women fleeing domestic violence over the last 12 months. Ex-armed forces, 18 plus. We do a lot of work with the LGBTQ plus clients. We found that a lot of young people come through the door, put themselves in this grouping, and there wasn't the support needed. So we set up a support group with the support of Packed House, and we call it the Freedom Zone. So a lot of young people now feel part of the community rather than not. We work with prison leavers. We work with people that's diagnosed with mental health issues, or them that are shown mental health issues who have not been yet diagnosed, and we help towards getting that diagnosis. And we work with care leavers, which is a special interest to me because I've been involved with care leavers most of my work in life. So what have been our challenges during the lockdown? 80% of clients have reported that their mental health has got worse. I don't think that anybody will dispute the fact that I think we're all in this category. So 80% I think is a quite low statistic. I think it could be quite higher than that if we looked across the general population of Derwentshire and Stanley in particular. But staff to continue to prioritise homelessness, that has been prevalent, it's been increasing. Prevention of homelessness, we do a lot of work with landlords to make sure that they don't put eviction orders, eviction threats. There's a lot of our young people and older people and ex-vets who have continue to have suicidal thoughts. We've had lots of episodes of self-harming. We've health relapses because of the COVID. We've had mental health worsening, and a big thing is chronic child poverty. And I think, you know, information that we get from the likes of Packed House, the women and the children we support and the young people we support, we know there's a massive issue around chronic child poverty. Isolation's increasing, domestic violence increasing, and all manners of chronic debt. And an example of that is someone who can't identify who they are because they've fled violence, they can't prove who they are, they get into debt very, very quickly because they can't open bank accounts and all the rest of it. It's a whole range of issues. So we should have had a reduced capacity to maintain social distances, but we haven't. We've had all the staff at Shade have worked right through the pandemic. So we've had to do the work, and we can't do this via computing or Zoom or Teams. So we've got to meet one-to-one with all of our clients safely with masks on and all the rest of them. But we've got to do it, and they've continued to do that, the staff. And we've seen a dramatic increased demand of housing, obviously, with basic living needs. And dealing with the complexities of identity proof, I've just said about the ID and demonstrate eligibility to access nearly any service, you need ID. But we have had a decrease in our education and training and employment offer through Durham Works, and that's because they can't meet them on a one-to-one. So we've changed a lot of it to online learning, and the team have been very good at adapting the online materials so that the young people that we work with can engage. So this is about the support services, and you might not know, a lot of the people who may be tuned in might not be aware of what we actually do, and I'm hoping this gives you an idea. Pre-tenancy advice. Now this was part funded by the Town Council last year, running from 2019 to 2020. Now in that period of time, we had 106 referrals, but out of them, we got 69 housed. 22 were given advice and family support, so they remained with the families, and 15 just took general advice, so there was no further action. The fact that they haven't been back through the door tells me that they were settled, and that continues to increase going forward. Them statistics are up to the end of February this year, and I know we've had about 25 referrals in this last month, so that tells you, gives you an idea. The Plans for Life, that's our Durham Works programme. We run from Packed House and shared offices. That's ASF programme. We've had 65 learners over the year. And again, that's funded through Durham County Council, ASF. Yes, you see, ASF, European Social Fund. Yes, we've still got that. and shared core funds. We've included the support groups, the LGBTQ. We've got a mixed tree, which is going to restart after the main lockdown. And we're also going to be looking at doing some work around mental health, again, in partnership with Packed House from the old mine building near the graveyard, which is going to be a happiness hub. That's the project that Shade will be doing with Packed House. Hollyacre Centre. This is a complex of 16 flats and 4-bedroom unit, and St Peter's Court, which is 16 flats, and we've also got 2 emergency beds there. Now, although this project's based in Sacriston, it covers the whole of Durham, and over this year alone, we supported 158 ex-vets into housing direct through our programme and other partners, such as like through Housing Solutions and Carbon Homes. We've got direct links with them who are very, very helpful. But I think the big statistic is over the last 8 years, we've worked with over 2,000 homeless ex-armed forces, which is a massive amount. And from when the project begun, that's something that we're really proud of. The one good thing about that is the links that we make with businesses, training, mental health services, all the rest of it. That's allowed us to get armed forces lads direct into employment. A lot of them went to Nissan and various other companies around the area. So that's something that we're extremely proud of. Shared House, that's a 7-bedroom unit at Anfield Plain, and it was one of the things that we got at is bringing buildings back into use. That was stood empty for years. Some of you might know it as the old bakery, and that now houses 7 young people. We've put a priority on care leavers. This year alone, we've had 32 referrals, but we've only been able to house 9 of them. That shows you that the demand is outstripping the supply. But since the project begun 2 years ago, we've had 78 referrals over 2 years, and we've housed 30, and the rest have moved on. We work with probation officers doing a crime, I can never say this word, recidivism programme. And there's been about 30 plus ex-prisoners guided through that programme. And what I can tell you is repeated crimes is not happening. It's having a fantastic effect on stopping people going back into prison. And I'm still waiting for some more information off the probation officers on that report. But I do know that it's had national recognition. And we've also got 7 dispersed properties. Now, this is coming back to the women fleeing domestic violence. Over the last 6 months, we've had to support 28 women fleeing domestic violence. And they've also had with them 72 children in total. And that's across the Stanley area. And it just shows that, you know, the need is great. And if things continue to grow exponentially like they are, we will have to look at how we can support women further down the line with other properties and the rest of it. So that gives you well over 500 support during the year. Plus, we get involved with most of the local and county strategic groups. I myself chair the CLLD, which is the North Durham CLLD, which helps businesses and small to medium enterprises. I'm also a trustee of Packed House, and I'm also a public rep on the AAP. So we very much like to get involved with the community as a whole, and we do so. The next few slides, just a couple of photographs. This is Shade House. All I wanted to show you was the quality that we aspire to. This building was completely derelict, and some of the councillors will know this building very, very well. It was a long time in the development, and we had a lot of work to do with the community to get the community on board. But I think the councillors who know this properly well will say that it's been a huge success, and a lot of young people have went on to better things. The awards, I'm always one for awards. I never used to get my photograph taken, but the bottom right-hand one I'm very proud of. That's us gaining the silver award off the MOD. Obviously, we haven't been able to go across and get photographs taken for the gold award yet. And then we've got a group of young people involved with Durham Works. A couple of our trustees and our mentor, which is, you'll know him there, Terry Deary. And a lot of you will know this old fella, my ex-youth worker, Trevor Payne. And he's the CEO of Virgin Money and Palm. And the bottom one is staff who done a sleepover. And the night they done that sleepover, it absolutely hosed down. They got soaked through the skin, but they raised about £3,500. So it was a real success. Again, this shows you St. Peter's, some of the work they do. Again, another award we achieved, Evening Chronicle Champions Award, become runner-up in that. That was when we got the bronze. Very, very heavily involved with Durham County Council and some of the county councillors there that you'll be aware of. And we work very closely with all of the armed forces, benevolent funds, such as the British Legion and all the rest of them. And what we also like to do is get the lads, whatever services, get people involved. So these 4 photographs, all these computers were donated by Durham County Council, and then we bring in outside trainers to deliver training. And we've recently, over the last 6 months, we got a grant, and we were able to buy a minibus for the Armed Forces lads, and they go away on regular trips out, which does really well for the well-being and the mental health status. And then again, we've got here, some of you might know this young gentleman here. He comes in, or he used to come in and learn the lads guitar lessons. So we try and make the services that we offer have a holistic approach that meets all the needs, whether a young person or whether you're an ex-vet. We'll look at your mental well-being, we'll look at your health, your finances, your housing status. It's a full package. And these are just some of the barriers that people are facing, and I'll not go through them because I think the outcomes are more important. And just to pick 2 outcomes out for these is the reduction in negative behaviours. A lot of people we get into our services are angry, they're frustrated, they swear a lot, and in a very, very short space of time, because they know that they're not on a revolving door, because they know if they engage, they will get to where they need to be. The reductions in negative behaviour diminish massively. And a lot of them go on to engage with the community, volunteering, different networks, and it improves the mental health as well. And the lifestyles become much better. And we've got hundreds of case studies that would demonstrate that with. So what are our future plans? Well, one of the big ones is we would like to register as an RSL. So because we've got housing, if we're registered as an RSL, that will open up a lot more different avenues to progress the organisation and get to a model where we're fully sustainable, without having to rely on grant aid moving forward. The White House, this is a new project, and I can tell you we've just had confirmation from Land Aid, and they, well, I've still got some work to do, but they're going to give us a substantial capital receipt to develop the White House. And again, that will be mirrored off Shade House, but it will be in Ushermore, so we're branching out just a little bit. We would like to increase our dispersed properties for homeless and DV clients, and we're going to talk to DCC, the Empty Home Strategy team, about that. Look at different properties, what can be done with them, can they be converted? There's a whole menu of stuff that could be done around that agenda. We would like to develop a programme of SSTS. For those that don't know, it's somewhere safe to stay, emergency units. When someone's fleeing domestic violence or fleeing crime or whatever, they can't always go into a hotel or a property, and we need emergency units for these people to be placed. So we'll be looking at developing our services to include SSTSs. And we do know that there will be some new ESF, yes, there again, that's the European Social Fund, where there's another two-year contracts hopefully coming out at the end of the year. So that will be under the Youth Employment 1.2 and 3.1. It doesn't really matter about the 1.2, 3, but that means working with young people intensively to get them to the point where they're ready for education, further education, but more importantly, employment. So we're really looking forward to that. And that is through, we're a partner, full delivery partner with Durham County Council on that one as well. And potential projects, but some of them have got a bit of a hold on, and some of the people who are tuning in might have heard whispers about the old town hall and the board school, the development. It could be a goer, we'll have to see. There's certainly been a lot of work done towards it, and if there's a will, there's a way. So hopefully that's a project that will be developed, which will bring in an element of housing as well. And I've also been talking, and it's looking like it may be a goer, a new build of a domestic violence project at Fence Houses. That'll be a big project, and that's going to take 2 or 3 years in the making, but it's still a good one. These are just a couple of what our patrons say. Plan for Life, Help Me to Confidence. You can read it for yourselves. The one I like is the bottom one. They are really good at what they do. I was homeless, but they got me somewhere to live within a week. I know who actually wrote this. Very professional and nice. It's nice when you get feedback like that. And like I say, we've got about 80% of our clients give us feedback. We've had the odd negative one. That's why it's only 99%. And these are the funders that have been funding Shade over the last 24 months, I would say. So obviously your town council, but I must say that the town council have been very, very supportive of Shade, not just the Gateway programme, but also little bits and pieces going forward. Like Shade got money off the AP via the town council for PPE equipment, and we handed out to the doctor surgeries and nurses and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on with the Shade and the town council, Durham County Council, and local elected members. And if you want to know anything more about organisation, or you would like to visit the website where you can catch up on all of our financial reports, AGM reports, referral routes, the whole lot, there's the information. I'll pass that on to James and he can put it on the council website. And that's me done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for that very in-depth presentation. Also, a huge thank you for all your help and support that you are providing. Does anybody want to come in? Does anybody got anything, questions or anything for Kevin?
Madam Mayor, can I just come in for 1 second just before we move on to the next?
Sorry.
Councillor Kane. There was a few issues with the slides there, members. Just to alert you, I will disperse the presentation round following the meeting, so everyone's got the slides, just in case they didn't get every single one. That's all.
Thank you,
Madam Mayor.
James Kane, Councillor Kane, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick one for Kevin in regards to the grants that Shade received at the start of the lockdown, and how much did they actually help Shade from the COVID funding that was supplied?
Yeah, because we were going, we got £5,000 off the town council, but we still had funding that was running from the year before, which, if I believe off the top of my head, was about 9,400, and that was towards the information advice. That's now ended now, and the 5,000 was to help us with the bills, the rent for the rooms, because what we found is, because there was no movement across the sheltered accommodation because of COVID, we had a reduction in income over that 12 months. So that allowed just us to keep up on top of the bills. We're now back to normal, where because there's been movement since over the last 2 months, we're back to full capacity now. So we're starting to get the income coming through, which allows us to pay for all the other bits and pieces. And we had an extremely cold winter, so the heating was never off.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to come in? I can't see anybody's hand. I can't see who it is.
Chair, it's Councillor Davidson.
Councillor Davidson, do you want to come in?
Carol should know by now I like to come in on everything. Just really like to thank Kevin and Shade for the work they've been doing for the last 2 decades, and it looks like the organisation's needed more than ever, really, and they're going in lots of different directions. So hopefully here's to another successful 2 decades, and really I think that as people in Stanley, we should be proud that we have this organisation that's based in Stanley, run by a Stanley lad, if Kevin Mount doesn't mind us calling him that, and that they're doing work that's winning awards and getting recognition all over the place, and they're showing what people in Stanley can do, and it's a positive for the area. So well done to Kevin, and keep it up, mate, and we'll see you in 20 years when you'll be about 50 by then, won't you?
I'm 58 now.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks.
Council's asked to note the report. Well, thank you, Kevin. You're more than welcome to stay if you want to stay, or if you want to slope off, you can slope off. And I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. If you don't mind, I'll go and get me tea now.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Right, we'll move on to item 10 now, which is the Civic Hall flags.
Hello, Madam Mayor.
I believe it's Alan Tubman who's coming on in on that one. Is that right? Hello.
Thank you. Right, you know how to follow that with a flags report, but there we go. I'll give it a try. The flying of flags and how they're flown as a way of showing pride, joy and respect. Currently at Stanley Town Council, we've got 2 flagpoles at the Civic Hall, and the purpose of this report is to allow the council to establish a programme of flags for the year, and also discuss how we use these flags to show respect. Section 2.1, at table 1, shows the potential programme of flags for the year. This includes the Union flag, which will be always flown on the left-hand side flagpole, and then we can use the other flagpole as for an alternative as directed. The table also indicates what we currently have available and costs for replacements or new flags. by no means is that table what we. It's an example of what we can do, and obviously we're looking at this more for direction for what the council wants us to do, and we will then firm that down into the official programme. Section 3 of the report discusses how we can use flags as a way to show respect by flying them at half-mast. Currently, we have a civic contingencies protocol, which outlines how we fly flags in respect of a significant death, like the Queen or Prince Philip or something like that, and, or a national tragedy, something like that. Members can direct us to make local arrangements to that. For example, if the death of a servant or a former councillor or the anniversary of a local disaster. Recommendations really is just for the members to decide the programme, really decide what programme they want in place, and then we will implement that programme. Also, we will agree for the purchase of any flags that we haven't got that we need to make up that programme. Can members please decide on what local arrangements they would like us to include in the civic contingencies protocol, and I will make the necessary adjustments. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alan. I'll open it up to the floor. Anybody want to come in? Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
Well, I just think it's a really good idea to have a look at the flags and use them in that way. I totally agree. It's an opportunity to show respect, and also when there's some celebrate or if it's some sort of commemorative occasion, I think it's a really good thing to have for Stanley Council. It allows us to possibly think about the front of the building as well. So, if it was something like St. David's Day, do you want to have the building sort of decorated in a way that supports the flag? There's lots of opportunities there for sort of building on it, and I just think it's a really good idea.
Thank you.
Carol, if no one else, sorry, Madam Mayor, if no one else has anything to say, can I just propose that we accept the recommendations?
Yep. Do we have a seconder?
I'd second that.
I can't.
Can you hear me?
Councillor Marshall, yes, I can hear you.
I had my hand up. I don't know what happened. It disappeared for some reason or other. Anyway, yeah, I think that it's a good piece of work, this. As Armed Forces champion, obviously the ones around the military I'm most impressed with. I'm very impressed with the stuff that Shade produces there. And I'm sure that there'll be other flags that we might want to consider later on. But for now, I think we should accept the recommendation that we should fly these flags. And it doesn't mention anything in there about any press releases or anything like that. But I think it's important, if we're going to put these flags up, that the public know why we're flying them. And most of that work can be done in advance because it's pre-planned. So we can get our people that do our publicity to pre-do that, and then release it to the public, and they'll know why we're flying certain flags. I think it's a good idea, and I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to a recorded vote now. James.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just to the recorded vote now. So this is to accept all the recommendations as outlined in item 10, attachment C. So the occasions that are going to be recognised through the flying of the flags as made out in the report. The purchase of the additional flags up to £475 to come out of the full council's heritage heritage budget in 21-22, and then the items that are put into point 3 of the report to be included within the civic contingencies procedure as a local arrangement. Excuse me, Councillor Christine Bell.
Yeah.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
4.
Councillor Alex Clegg. Councillor Harry.
Agree. I agree with it.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
For.
Councillor David Marshall.
For.
Councillor John McMahon.
For.
The Ballinair.
For.
Joan Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
And Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
Chair, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to item 11, which is the events management contract. And I believe Councillor Carl Marshall and Councillor Joe McMahon, is this the one that you declared an interest in?
Yeah, I'll leave the meeting and then rejoin. So hopefully I'll be sitting in the waiting room waiting for James or Nicola to let us back in.
Thank you. And I can't see Joe's name there neither, so he must have gone as well.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I can confirm that they've both left the meeting.
Right, thank you very much. Council's asked to consider and decide what to do, and it is attachment D.
Hello, it's Madam Mayor. I will run through this one as well. This report initially went to Finance and General Purposes Committee early in the month, the 9th of March, and we brought this forward to full council, including the recommendations that we got from Finance and General Purposes. 2021, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic prevented Stanley Town Council from holding any events. This budget that we had for events for that year was repurposed as part of the Stanley Community Fund, which was then, distributed amongst the groups within the community. In July 2018, it was agreed to award a 3-year contract to Alan Hillary Events to work with the Town Council on the Town Events programme. 2020 should have been the final year of that contract. However, no events took place. Alan Hillary Events did do some work on us on potential events, some preparation work, but to be honest, they didn't charge us for that work as nothing went ahead. Events for 2021-22, we have started to look at planning potential events for this year's. And Alan Hillary Events have said they'd be happy to advise and support us with these events. And the events working group is meeting on a monthly basis. And the minutes of the January and February meetings are available today as item 13 on this agenda. Part of our philosophy for the events programme moving forward is to look at potential partnership working to add some value to the events. And where possible, bring in additional funding, as well as sort of working with these partners to bring in different skills and build up the events. Hopefully, the intention is to develop this approach, as we'll learn as we go along with this, and develop this approach going ahead, and to create probably some good working relationships moving on. Fireworks event is another event that obviously didn't happen last year, and similar to the Alan Hillary Events contract. That was agreed in November 2018 that we would contribute to the fireworks event for the following 3 years, which would be 19, 20 and 21. Obviously in 2020, the fireworks event wasn't held. Following the discussions from the Financial General Purposes Committee, it was recommended that the Town Council decide to roll over the final year of the events contract with Alan Hillary Events, which will cover us for 2021. The Town Council instructs its officers to explore possible options for managing the events following the end of this events contract. This will then be the final year of that contract. We'll need to look at options for what we're going to do in the year after. We'll do some work on that and we'll bring that back to the council. The Town Council also decided to roll over the funding for the 2020 fireworks event, which will extend that to include the 2022 event. And also the Town Council instruct officers to explore options to ensure the fireworks event continues beyond 2022. As obviously it's a very popular and very valuable event in the community. The Town Council is to instruct officers to continue with their approach to events as we have now, which is looking for additional funding, looking for partnership work and moving ahead. That's it. I'm happy to take any questions, or if you can please refer to the recommendations. Thanks.
Councillor Les Timby, you have your hand up. Councillor Timby.
That's better. Thank you, Alan, for a comprehensive report. If nobody else is going to come in, I propose we accept the recommendation from Finance and General Purposes Committee and accept item recommendations 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5.
Thank you for that. And 1 minute. So Les has proposed it. Do we have a seconder?
Vinny's got his hand up.
I can't. Oh, sorry, Councillor Vinny. You have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Councillor Vinny from the Havana Ward. I totally agree with the proposals, and I second Les's recommendations.
Thank you. We'll move on to the vote now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, members, as mentioned in item 11, there is 5 recommendations there. I won't go over them again because Alan's just literally gone over them, so that's absolutely fine. So it's a for, against, or abstain. Councillor Christine Bell.
I'll abstain.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
For.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor David Marshall.
For.
Councillor Bala Nair.
For.
Councillor Joan Nicholson. Councillor Joan Nicholson.
She's on mute.
Sorry, that.
Oh, you're off now.
Oh. Councillor Joan Nicholson.
Back on mute.
For.
Thank you.
Is it off?
Yeah. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
Madam Mayor, that's 12 for and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much for that.
So I'm now going to add Councillor Carl Marshall and Councillor Joe McMahon back in. So if we can give it a few seconds. Madam Mayor, I can confirm that both have been now back in.
Lovely. Thank you. Welcome back. We'll move on now to item 12 on the agenda, which is attachment E. Council are to consider and decide the budget plan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One from myself this evening. So we got the budget plan, which is item 12. The report is as written. I won't go through the whole report, but it basically works out the additional information as part of the budget plan, recommendations towards in point 5. So going to some specifics around the 3.2, because there was an item that was mentioned with regards to the licenses that we have in place at Stanley Town Council and the AGM. We're currently still working, and it was particularly a point that was made by Councillor David Marshall and Finance and General Purposes with regards to the NERO contract. So officers are continuing to work with NERO to identify what was previously in place. However, no monetary value was exchanged last year with regards to a subscription, hence why in this year's budget it hasn't been included. But we will bring a further report back to you in the following the elections with regards to subscriptions and in specifically the NERO contract. Regarding point 3.4, we talk about the possible strategic input from members on certain areas where it would not be normally delegated to the town clerk. And point 4 goes through the current marketing contract procedure, while point 4.2 speaks about the proposed allocation of £12,000 for the vehicle for the environmental services. So the proposals, as outlined in point 5, are based on the contents of the report. It's proposed that the following strategic plans be produced by officers and presented to the committee following the elections, with a timeline of the plan's development provided as soon as possible. So the strategic plans will include the Civic Hall Capital Works programme, including the improvement works, the community engagement plan, an environmental services strategic plan, Civic Hall strategic plan, grant funding strategic plan. 5.2, that all other areas of expenditure are delegated to the town clerk in line with the budget heading, reportable to the Finance and General Purposes on a regular basis. 5.3, that the current arrangements with CREO continue, but the officers need to increase communications with CREO to make better use of the contract. 5.4, that the current environmental services vehicle hire is continued until after the elections, and that the town clerk present a feasibility study into the cost of purchase versus the cost of hire over a 3-year period to Finance and General Purposes. And then 5.5, that the council approve the for the year 21-22 as outlined in 4.3 of the report. Thank you.
I'll open it up to the floor. Do we have what we need a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Jeanette Stevenson, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. I would just like to say we've considered all of this at Finance and General Purposes, and thank you to Jay for what was said at that meeting and coming back with these further or new recommendations. And if other people aren't interested in having a further discussion about it, then I just propose that we accept the recommendations.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Councillor Clegg, thank you. We'll now move
Madam
on.
Mayor, happy for me to move to the vote?
Yes, please.
Sorry, it's going to be a long night. As mentioned, members, the recommendations are set out in 5 of item 12. Councillor Christine Bell.
4.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
4.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
4.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
4.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
4.
Councillor James Kane.
4.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
4.
Councillor David Marshall.
4.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
4.
Councillor Ballinair.
4.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
4.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
4.
Councillor Les Timby.
4.
Councillor David Tully.
4.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
4.
Thank you, Chair. That was unanimous.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to item 13, which is the events working group. That is attachment F. And I believe Mr. Tubman is going to take us through this.
Hello.
Hello.
Right. Oh, sorry. It's for the events working group. Yes, it's just an update to people on where we actually are with events. I did mention it earlier with the with the previous report about the events management contract. And it's just really to assure members that we are planning, we are looking ahead at events and with the possibility of putting on what we can put on in the near future. We have discussed things with Scott Hillary from Alan Hillary Events, and obviously as an expert. I mean, and thankfully the contract's been rolled forward to cover this year, and he's been taking advice as well from a professional capacity on what they need to do to provide the events in the future. We feel Armed Forces Day it could be difficult because of the timing of it, so we are looking at some virtual options for that. To do some virtual content that we're thinking about doing some bespoke stuff. We've applied for a grant for that, which we were successful in retrieving a grant for that. So hopefully we'll be able to fund most of that from the grant that we've received. We're also looking at options for Play in the Park. Obviously, Miners Sunday is our big heritage event in the summer, and we'd like to think that if we can't do, we've spoken to Scott about the possibility of including some Armed Forces elements to the Miners Sunday from a heritage point of view, getting the British Legion involved, etc., things like that, from the veteran side of things. The events for Armed Forces Day, if I can go back on one, we're looking at doing maybe something virtual, and if we do that, we're looking at maybe something across the ages, if you like, trying to get some cadets involved, some serving members of the Armed Forces, and again, some veterans, which all people from the town which show all their contribution to the Armed Forces. So we haven't got anything done yet as such, but we hope to put something together for that. The additional bit on the events programme as well also is looking at James's environmental stuff, which is the Blooming Good Fun Awards later in the year as well. We're going to be launching that soon, and he's looking at doing things like developing the site where the flour mine is down behind Iceland. He's got a project. He's looking at a project to do that, which will enhance that and make it more of a feature in the town. Because I don't think that when we were making the most of that. So basically, it's just if there's any questions anybody's got on where we're at with things, I can assure members that we are intending to meet on a monthly basis. We're inviting Scott along there, and we are looking to work with partners as well, such as the Tommy Armstrong people on the heritage event as well. And that's pretty much a work in progress. We're looking at seeing where else we can get involved in that. So again, if anybody's got any specific questions, by all means, let me know, or take time to have a look through the minutes and drop us a link. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor's just asked to note the report. Sorry, Councillor Davidson, you wanted to come in?
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to come in to say that I think that as a group, we've been sort of meeting regularly. We've been trying to move things on as much as we can, but really things are uncertain. So there's a lot of options open, but I think that Alan's done really well to get us some funding for our piece of work on Armed Forces Day. I'm not going to call it an event because that's not really what it is, but he's done really well to do that, and that's going to be something that we can do whether COVID's still with us or COVID's receding. So I think it's a good initiative, it's a good idea. I look forward to seeing what comes out of it, really. So I think we should just note the minutes, please, Mayor, and we'll keep meeting regular, like Alan says, and try to get the events on that the people in Stanley want.
Thank you very much. Councillor Binney, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think I was going to commend Alan on his report, and Councillor Davidson has said a lot of what I wanted to say, basically, in terms of how we've been very innovative in trying to avoid the problems around COVID. So I would basically propose that second proposal to note the report. But in addition, I would also like to commend the officers and members of the group for their efforts to establish an effective, entertaining and COVID-safe programme in events to be ready for the later part of the year should, as we all hope, the current restrictions are lifted. So I would secondly note the report.
Thank you for that, Councillor Binney. Alan Tubman, you want to come back in?
Yeah, just to chip in before you finish things off, Madam Mayor. It's just to say that certainly the events that we've done is everybody's chipped in. I mean, I thank members for what I've seen there, but everybody's chipped in. Jim's chipped in. We got Dave Jarvis in there and John the Warden's in there. You know, had a bit of a session where we're basically just putting some ideas together off the top of our heads. So it's all been really positive, and people's been genuinely looking at what the best of the situation. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Well, fingers crossed we can get something arranged somehow. Right, we'll move on to item 14, which is attachment G in the papers, the policy working group update. And who's going to take us on this one? Where am I at? Mr. Tubman again.
See, this is just to see whether you can have too much of a good thing or not. That's all it is. Right, the policy working group. What we did with that, we didn't have very much. I think we said last time we've had a couple of pretty intense policy working groups. One in particular where we did a load of stuff. We got it all up to date, and we're pretty much in the process of just going into the review process, as well as just filling one or two gaps that we've come across now. The main one with this one was we looked at publicity. We had a little bit of issues occasionally on making sure that we get that right. I think it's what we were doing anyway. We just sort of formalised it into a document. And the other thing was the risk register, which we've agreed to review that twice, on a 6 monthly schedule. So we'll do that twice a year, and that was all we got there. And again, as the other one, we will continue to keep these groups going. We'll continue to meet, and we will be filling the gaps up and reviewing the stuff that's coming up for review as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you. Council's just asked to note the report. So we'll move on to item 15 now, which is the St Cuthbert's in Tanfield, which is attachment H in the papers.
Hello, I'm Alan Tubman, Deputy Town Clerk. Right, St Cuthbert and Tanfield. This report also went to financial and general purposes on the 9th of March. And again, this has also been brought as the other one with the recommendations to full council this evening. I've also been able to get an update on the situation as well since the last meeting, so we know exactly where we stand with various things for tonight. So quickly, going through the background to this. 2020, Jack Hare produced a booklet on the story of St Cuthbert and his links with the town, specifically with Tanfield and the church down there. He circulated this to a number of local and regional groups by way of gathering support to create some sort of installation to commemorate that and celebrate that within Tanfield itself. With 2020 being Durham County Council's year of pilgrimage, and Councillor Stevenson being the representative from the EAP on that group within Durham County Council, the EAP offered to lead on this project. Additional partners that's been involved in this has been the local council, the local DCC members. Visit County Durham's been involved in it. They're looking at it from the Northern Saints Trail point of view, and also the local and regional church groups, amongst other things, have been involved altogether. As the project's developed, as it's moved along, a number of other partners have gradually become involved in that, and we've looked at various options for the installation itself. In section 3.1, figure 1, there's a an example of what was an option and one of I believe the preferred option, even though I wasn't involved in that part of the stage of the process. Also, what they were looking at doing was looking for putting funding together. Where can we get sufficient funding for this? And I was speaking to Daniel O'Brien a while ago. They were looking at potentially options if we couldn't get funding to do sort of plan A and maybe have a plan B that we could do with the money that we got available. In addition to the actual project itself, it was hopeful to make this a bigger thing, to include it in the Northern Saints Trail. And I know the EAP were looking from what they're funding to look at it from the point of view of increasing health, you know, by making it part of local walks, by linking it up with other local heritage attractions as well. As well as obviously making it what could be done well, could be a significant feature, you know, and part of the village, representing the town's heritage. Not just the town's heritage, we're talking about the regional heritage, I believe, on this sort of thing, if not broader than that. The intention also with the EAP is to carry out some local consultation, to work with the local groups down there, like the In Bloom group, and make sure they're happy to maybe maintain that going ahead. To date, finance-wise, only £306 being committed from the 2020-21 heritage budget of £5,000. That leaves a remaining budget of £4,694. Finance and General Purposes recommended we put this forward as contribution to the project. Since the Finance and General Purposes meeting, I've been able to get some further information from the EAP. The estimate for the cost of the project is round about the £21,000 mark. Local DCC councillors have requested £10,000 from the neighbourhood budget be allocated to this project, and that's now working its way through the EAP process. Visit Durham have also allocated £2,000, I believe, and there's an estimate of if our £4.5 goes in there, the shortfall, the EAP seems confident that they can make that up from other sources. The recommendations here is again following on from what was recommended initially by Finance and General Purposes, which is to donate the remaining £4,694 from the heritage budget to this. So for members to decide if they want Stanley Town Council to continue to work with the EAP and with the group on the delivery of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Alan. Councillor Stevenson, you have your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Chair. It was just following on from Finance and General Purposes. Helen Clark, who was a member of that group and who was also the Tanfield In Bloom representative and who had been part of the ongoing project, just raised a couple of concerns. And so she, Daniel O'Brien and myself met on Friday to just go over some of the concept drawings, to look at the costings, to look at the funding and what we could afford and what we couldn't afford, and to look at consultation. And she was very happy to go ahead and take the project forward as it stands. And consultation wise, we had a discussion about that, and obviously we can't really do any consultation. Our original thought is that the 20th of March would have been, you know, a wonderful day to actually launch something, but that was obviously 3 days ago. So unfortunately, we're going to have to just think about it being this year, within the year of pilgrimage, that we have something done. Consultation wise, Daniel's going to continue doing his thing behind the scenes and trying to organise what the consultation is going to look like. But obviously we're coming into Purda, and it just makes sense that, you know, we pause everything in order to make sure that everything's done correctly, basically, but that we do commit the money, and that the project itself would start to run once, you know, the new town council is in place. So that, and the range of the 3 different concept drawings that we have, the range from £6,000 up to the £21,000, which is the bronze, the silver and the gold versions. and that the community themselves would be the people who decide which one of those that they want, by opening up the community centre and having the designs there for them to actually be able to make the choice, because it's not for us to make the decision, it's for them. So that's where we are so far.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Joanne Tully, you have your hand up.
Hello, Chair. Thank you for that. Joanne Tully from the Tanfield ward. Can I just clarify the amount of money that we're committing, the 4694 for this project, has taken into account the £475 for the flags that we've just agreed for out of the heritage project, their budget. Breath.
That was the next year, Joanne. The flag money.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm jumping in there, but you know, simple.
No, that's fine. Thank you for clarifying.
Does anyone else want to come in? No. So we need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
I would just like to propose that we accept the recommendations as they stand.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clegg. Councillor Clegg seconded. And we'll move to the vote now, please, James.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just before we do go to the vote, Councillor Tully still has her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Whether it's an old one or... Oh, there we go. Hold on. No, that's fine.
It's a historical hand.
So, members, as set out in the recommendations, Councillor Christine Bell.
4.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
4.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
4.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
4.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
4.
James Kane.
4.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
4.
Councillor David Marshall.
4.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
4.
Councillor Ballinair.
4.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
4.
Jeanette Stevenson.
4.
Councillor Les Timby.
4.
Councillor David Tully.
4.
And Councillor Joanne Tully.
4.
Madam Mayor, that was unanimous.
Thank you very much for that. Now we'll move on to item 16 on the agenda, building compliancy control. And who's going to take us? James, are you taking us?
I am indeed, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. Well, I will try to be quick and short. This is the report is as written. It is an update on the building compliance situation at the Civic Hall and also the Anfield Plain Hut. In point 2 of the report, it lists the Health and Safety at Work Act that we have to adhere to, including as far as possible, reasonably practical, the health, safety and welfare of employees, and to ensure that employees and others are kept safe. Point 3 of the report lists the current contracted services to Durham County Council with regards to our compliance, and including the dates of when things were last serviced and when they were next serviced. And obviously that is at the time of the report. Figure 2 in 3.3 provides a list of non-Durham County Council contractors who provide compliance also. Point 4 looks at the Anfield Plain Hut and includes the likes of the Asbestos Management Plan, Legionella Risk Assessment, Fixed Wiring, Gas Safety and Fire Extinguisher Service. And then 4.2 and 4.3 just make comment on some of these areas where, such as the Legionella Risk Assessment, which we are currently working on, and we have a member of staff going up there on Wednesday to look over the current situation and has a supplier, a contractor coming out to view the property with aim to getting a quote. So the recommendation on this report is simply to note it, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Does anybody want to come in, or happy to note it? Just note it. Thank you very much. We shall move on to item 17, the Stanley Advice and Support Services. I'm looking for hands up.
Thanks, Chair. Would you like me to?
Marshall?
Thanks, Chair. I mean, the resolution's been, the motion, should I say, has been submitted. I just want to provide members with a little bit of context, really. I mean, I'm sure we're all well aware of the challenges that have been faced by residents across Stanley in one of the toughest fights in history that people have had through the global pandemic. And I think it's further been exacerbated by 10 years of austerity as well, and changes by the Tory government to universal credit support, a lack of investment in social housing, as well as many, many other changes that the government have made nationally that have all had a detrimental impact to people's lives, meaning that more people than ever, in particular across our communities, find themselves through no fault of their own living in poverty. And I think as a council, we really did step up and do everything that we can to support our residents through this period by supporting our partners across the voluntary and community sector, not just financially, but with the support that our officers gave through right the way through from the clerk down to the neighbourhood wardens, and everybody really did pull together. I think some of the support that we've seen through the advice partnership has been absolutely invaluable for people over this 12 months. We've seen support with universal credit claims from people who never ever expected to have to make a universal credit claim in their lives, but found themselves without an income, having worked hard for much of their lives. We've seen people having to rely on food banks and handouts from the Christian Partnership, as well as support from Packed House, debt advice. I think the list could go on and on and on, and certainly some of the stories that I've heard, as well as some of the stories that many of the councillors will have heard, are really harrowing, really, and you know, extremely sad. In Stanley, we do have the benefit of having an enhanced partnership when it comes to our advice partnership, and this is about bringing together the support services that I previously mentioned through the Citizens Advice, Welfare, Rights, the Christian Partnership, Money Advice, who work very closely with others such as Shade, Packed House, and the Just Women Centre, as well as Anfield Plain Community Centre. And I think basically where we're at with the pandemic, nobody knows what the future is going to hold. I think there's a much more troublesome period ahead as we look to the government's furlough scheme coming to an end, and I think we'll see many people sort of accessing support from our advice partners over the next 6 months, and the true consequences of the pandemic are yet to be realised. I think with that, and certainly it's more important than ever that we continue to support our voluntary and community sector partners, who in turn will provide much needed support to our communities and our residents over the next sort of 12 months in particular. Clearly, nobody can predict what type of support is going to be needed, but I think under the circumstances, and given that our contract for our support for advice services is due to end imminently, it would be remiss of us as a council, and would have a detrimental impact on the lives of hundreds of people across Stanley if we weren't to renew the support and allow that continuity of services across our voluntary and community sector over the coming year. So on that basis, Chair, the motion has been submitted. It's very simple, very self-explanatory, that we renew that contract for another 12 months so they can continue to support our residents. That over that 12 months, we'll work alongside all partners who are providing advice and support to our communities, as well as the wider community through stakeholder engagement, and carry out a full review of those services. And I think it's right that this council then considers that review before looking at how we want to resource these things going forward, to make sure that none of our residents in Stanley fall down the cracks caused by 10 years at least of imposed austerity, which was a political choice from the Conservative government, and also the after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I formally move the motion as set out.
Thank you for that, Paul Marshall. Councillor Stevenson, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Really, I just want to echo everything that Carl said. We would be very, very remiss if we took this important service away from our communities. And so therefore, I formally second the motion.
Thank you for that. So we move to a recorded vote now, please, James.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Just to update, it was it's something I've done a bit of research on with regards to the legalities of obviously the procurement of this. So the government in March 2020 on information note PPN 0120 allowed us to extend where they would normally have to go to tender. Or they would normally be eligible for under the public contract regulation. So everything that we are doing today is subject to obviously being agreed by council, is above board and legal.
Thank you.
So, Chair, as per the motion, members, Councillor Christine Bell.
For.
Councillor Gordon Binney.
For.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Carol Hampson.
For.
James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
For.
Councillor David Marshall.
For.
Councillor Joe McMahon. Councillor Joe McMahon.
For.
Councillor Ballinair.
For.
Councillor John Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
And Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Right, as agreed at the beginning of the meeting, we will now move item 20 to be the next thing on the agenda, which is the date and time of the next meeting, which will be Tuesday, the 27th of April at 6:30 via Teams. And next thing on the agenda is item 18, which is the exclusion of the press and public. So, Councillor Mark Davidson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that we exclude the press and public from the next item because of staff and confidentiality. I myself will be also leaving the meeting because of my previous declaration of interest.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to formally second that, please.
Thank you very much. And I'm understood that Councillor David Tully will be leaving. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson. Councillor Mark Davidson. And Nicola, is Nicola leaving us? No.
Yes, Chair. The staffing will also be leaving the meeting with Officer Anne Barry and myself remaining.
Right. Thank you.
So,
Thank
Chair,
you for your attendance.
I'll now shut the stream down and we will go to Part B.